When you hear the word communism, how do you feel? What do you think? Is it something negative, like anxiety or distrust? Maybe even distaste? In this speech, I hope to change the way that you feel and explain that communism, despite its bad reputation, is and can be a strong form of government. Today, we're going to tackle 3 main points. The first being taking a look at communism and its original concept and ideals and how it should operate. The second being a few of its failures throughout history and McCarthyism and how that negatively impacted the idea and view of communism. And finally, to wrap things up, we'll look into some successful communist countries. At its core, communism operates with a few basic principles. The first being that it operates under a classless system of government. They purposefully avoid upper and lower class systems where the least have the most. All of their facilities of production are owned by the many so that wealth and resources can be distributed by need. In an excerpt from The Principles of Communism by Frederick Engels, above all, it will have to take the control of the industry in all branches of production out of the hands of mutually competing individuals and instead institute a system in which all these branches of production are operated by society as a whole. That is, for the common account according to a common goal. That is, for the common account, common plan, and with the participation of all members of society. Like I previously said, communism is a classless form of society, focusing on representation and a government that supports equality for all. As with any government, communism is not without its shortcomings and failures. I'm going to provide a few examples, and as I do, I want you to keep in mind why these governments fail. You should understand that it is deviations from the original concepts we just discussed that cause the failures, and not the government itself. First, we will look at the most famous example, the Soviet Union. After years of failing to evolve with the growing technologies of the latter 19th century, the Soviet Union began to experience high amounts of economic stagnation, which led to an angry populace. And because of this, the Gorbachevs, which were the current rule, feared that they would fall out of favor and lose power. As a result, they began to employ oppressive tactics to remain in power, ones that directly contradicted the original ideologies of communism. The Harvard Kennedy School states that he wanted to reform communism, not replace it, but his reforms snowballed into a revolution driven from below rather than controlled from above. In trying to repair communism, he punched a hole in it, opening like a dam that tore apart the system. Another good example is North Korea. They employ constant and heavy government surveillance, extreme isolationist policies, and large amounts of oppression against their citizens. All of this combined leads to almost constant food shortages and economic stagnation, which result in an extremely low quality of life. Now, let's explore where some of the negative emotions toward communism originate. To do this, we'll go back to the 1960s in America during the first Red Scare. After 20 years of conflict from the Cold War, tensions in America were extremely high at this period of time. They believed that some countries sought to spread communism all across the world and thus end the American way of life. A key figure in spreading this idea was Senator Joseph McCarthy, who for over a year began to accuse people he disliked and disagreed with of being a communist. And he would do this in a variety of ways, all of which were utilizing fear tactics, shady under-the-table deals, and utilizing the fear of Americans at the time. His actions directly contributed to the negativity towards communism and created it into being taboo. Well, yes, communism has had its failures and shortcomings. It also has had some great successes, like Vietnam, when in 1975, when the communist Viet Cong won the Vietnam War. They have had a steady uprise since. After many market reforms over the following decades, they have experienced a rapidly growing economy and booming markets. The World Economic Forum declares that both domestic and international retailers are eyeing rapid expansion in the country, as more and more people gain the purchasing power to consume goods and services. In the same vein, the country of Laos has experienced similar economic growth to Vietnam, albeit on a smaller scale. In conclusion, yes, it is true that communism has had a rocky history and many sort of negative points, but it is widely misunderstood. Communism has been given a bad name by people in power who've sought to twist it and demean it to further their own agendas. In truth, when adhering to the original concept, communism is widely successful and allows countries to thrive. It is not a force of evil that wants to spread across the world. It is just a normal system of government, like any other. And it's a pretty good one at that. So, the next time you think the word communism, remember what I've said. And I hope I've changed how you feel for the better. Thank you.